very much for taking the time with us today. I know you're a busy guy.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
So we'll get right into it. President Trump, on his first international trip, goes to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Why?
Well, first of all, the Saudi-U.S. relationship is strong, and it has been strong for 7 decades. This relationship started with President Roosevelt, who's a Democrat, and has been strengthening since then with different presidents of the United States, Democrats and Republicans. So this is a continuation of this historic, strong relationship that has, protected people of both countries on the security side, and also it has, on the economic side, created a lot of jobs and opportunities in both countries and helped the economy. President Trump's visit is an important visit to the Muslim world. I believe that it is vital for the United States to have a strong relationship with Saudi Arabia and the Muslim world. And I think the President's speech on that visit was very encouraging to Muslim people to see. He spoke about the counterterrorism, and he said that ISIS and the terrorist groups victims are mostly Muslims. And I think it's very important for Muslim people to hear the President of the United States mentioning this.
Let's talk about terrorism in the region. What are the greatest threats to Saudi Arabia today?
Well, I believe the biggest threats to the region and to the international security is basically Iran, Iranian regime and its proxies on one side, and ISIS and Al-Qaeda and terrorist organization on the other side. We believe that they're both two sides of the same coin. They believe in the same concept, not necessarily exactly the same ideology, but they both do not believe in the sovereignty of nations. They both believe in transnational ideological state. They both do not believe in international law. And sometimes they compete with each other and they fight each other. But when it comes to us, we're the common enemy, and they cooperate.
Why are you the common enemy?
Well, because we are a force of stability, force of peace, force of prosperity in the region. What we want to do in Saudi Arabia is we have currently this great Vision 2030, where we want to reform our economy to basically untap the potential in Saudi Arabia, to open our new sectors in Saudi Arabia, and to have a prosperous country, and to move our citizens forward. To be able to do that, we need a stable, secure region. We need and prosperous region. We need to increase our economic cooperation with neighboring countries. Iran wants to export the revolution. Iran has an expansionist ideology. Iran wants other states in the region not to be our partners, but to be under the basically Iranian expansionist project. And this is a big difference. We have Vision 2030 that is moving us forward. They have Vision 1979 that is trying to move the region and Saudi Arabia backward.
You're getting sort of Iranian presence surrounding Saudi Arabia. I mean, right now you have, let's say, 3 proxy conflicts. What happens when it ceases to be a proxy conflict?
Well, what we want in the region is different than what Iran wants in the region. We want partners. We want stability. We want security. We want countries that need to be independent. Saudi Arabia has 0 proxies in the Middle East. No one can name all the Iranian proxies in one sentence in the Middle East. I do not think the Iraqi people, the Yemeni people, the Lebanese people want to be part of basically the Iranian revolution, part of Tehran. They want to be an independent country. They want to move forward. They want to fix their economy. So I don't think the Iranian controls the Iraqi people or Iraq. I think Iraqi people must control Iraq. Lebanese people must control Lebanon.
How do we get to this peace in the Middle East? How do we move towards some sort of sane solution? Because we seem to be going in the wrong direction.
That's a great question. It should be asked to the Iranian regime.
We've asked them.
Because we are the party that we did not launch, we did not shot any bullet towards Iran. We're not launching ballistic missiles towards Iran. They are the party that is doing all these malign activities in the Middle East. What I'm saying is we need to pressure the Iranian regime to stop these activities that will lead us to a bigger conflict. If we do nothing, just like we did in the past years, it will lead us to a bigger conflict, because 5 years ago there was no ballistic missile launched towards Saudi Arabia. 20 years ago there was no Iranian militia in Iraq. So if we the trend is a continuous Iranian regime escalation in the region that will lead to a bigger conflict.
If he withdraws from the deal, and now that there's sort of a strife between U.S. and Europe on this, Iran is increasing its aggressive activities. Israel is sort of getting ready for that. Maybe Saudi Arabia is getting ready for that. The GCC is getting ready for that. Doesn't that mean we're going in the wrong direction? Doesn't that mean we're going away from peace and towards more of a conventional war?
Well, in your question, you said that we'll be going to the wrong direction. Let me tell you what was the direction that we were heading towards, basically, before the withdrawal from the nuclear deal. We see more destructive, basically, activities in Syria, and more destructive activities in Iraq, more destructive activities in Lebanon, more destructive activities in Yemen. 160 ballistic missiles launched towards Saudi Arabia, including the capital, a G20 country. So Iran actions was leading to a bigger conflict. If we pressure Iran, if we make them pay a price for what they do, it's going to do exactly the opposite. It will basically stop Iran from continuous escalation that will get us to a bigger conflict in the region. And that's why we need to use all our tools and all options that should be on the table.
If I've been to Iran, I've been to Saudi Arabia, the one thing that strikes me as very similar between both cultures is they have a very young population in Saudi, a very young population in Iran. In Saudi Arabia, there seems to be a tremendous push from the young people for change, for modernization, all different kinds of social movements. You actually see, especially the young people in Tehran, who have satellite TV and who have relatives in LA or in London, somewhat of the same mindset. Why is it so completely different politically? Because you've got young people who seem to be not that far apart.
Yes.
But politically, it seems to be everyone's moving
Yes.
100 miles in a different direction.
Here's the big difference. First of all, I think the Iranian people are great people. I think the Iranian people want to build their country. They want to move it forward, and they deserve better. The big difference is there are extremists in Saudi, but they're on the run, and they're a minority. There are extremists in Iran, but they're running the country, and they're a minority, basically. And that is the big difference between us and Iran. Look at, and you mentioned the Iranian people living abroad, basically, including in the United States. There are millions of people, millions of Iranians live in the United States and Germany and other countries in Europe. Have you seen any Saudi minority that lives in Europe or United States? We've sent hundreds of thousands of students to the United States. More than 98% of them come back. Why? What's the reason? Because they have hope, because they want to move their country forward, because they feel that their country is going towards the right direction. And even the 1.5% that continue to stay in the United States, I meet some of them. They work in Google, YouTube, and other companies in the United States. Their future project is in Saudi. They want to come back because Saudi Arabia's ambition is to serve their own citizens, to move their country forward. It's different from the Iranian regime, extremist regime in Iran.
A lot has been made about the new leadership in your country, yourself and your brother. Can you please tell us where you see the region going forward in the next 5 to 10 years?
What I see in Saudi Arabia is under the king's leadership and the crown prince, we have an ambitious, exciting plan to move our economy forward, to move our society forward, to move our country forward, to improve our education system, health system, to improve our economy, to create basically an environment for tourism, to create basically an entertainment, to invest inside Saudi Arabia and outside Saudi Arabia. And we have been very successful since we announced this Vision 2030. And I believe that countries in the region should replicate what Saudi Arabia is doing. We should be forward-looking countries. We are proud of our past. Our past is bright, but we should look at the future as brighter. And that's our vision. People in the region should not be basically used by ISIS or Al-Qaeda or the Iranian regime to fight their own wars. They should basically work to improve their countries, to move their countries forward, to have prosperous economy, to make basically to create jobs, to create opportunities. And that's what we're looking for in Saudi Arabia.